Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host narrator, and today we have a special story. It's called The Spring in the Underworld's Love. Make sure to like and subscribe. Also, this is a disclaimer. I did some research from the Greek mythology of Hades and Persephone. This is not from the Greek mythology, so I changed it up. So none of the other Greek gods aren't mentioned in this story. Please like and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get this story on the road.
Have you ever wondered why spring doesn't last all year long? Well, that's because spring is with her husband, the king of the underworld. Let's go back and let me tell you of how these two met. Long time ago, in a huge garden with green trees, flowers, and animals, there lived a little girl named Persephone. Little Persephone was playing in the garden with her animal friends. While playing tag, Persephone's flower crown flew off her head, landing right by a tree. Just right as she was about to grab it, another pair of hands grabbed the crown. It was a boy with black hair and black eyes. Persephone looked at the little boy's hands holding out the flower crown. Persephone thanked the boy and asked for his name. The little boy's name is Hades. Once the two introduced themselves, Persephone and Hades were playing tag. Over the time, the two would play together and became friends. But one day, Persephone asked Hades where he lived. Hades said that he lived in the underworld. Persephone grew curious about the underworld, asking Hades lots of questions. But as the day ended, Hades' guards came to collect him, bringing him back home. Persephone was too taken back home. Over the year, the two grew older, and Hades and Persephone were now 8 years old. While the two were playing, Persephone discovered her powers. She can grow plants, making it springtime forever. But as Hades fell on an old rabbit, seeing the rabbit tried to heal it up and waking it, but the rabbit was giving off blue like smoke. The rabbit's soul left the body. Seeing a scared Hades, the rabbit came up and hugged him not to be scared as it flew away. Hades could take away and give souls, ending their lives with a flick of his hands or an accident. Later on that day, the two grew bored of being able to play in the garden fields. Hades had an idea if they can play outside the garden. Persephone wasn't so sure if it would be a good idea due to her parents' warning of not going outside. But a little look wouldn't hurt. When the two left the garden, there was a group of kids around their age. As the two grew closer to the other kids, Persephone asked if it would be okay to play with them. The other kids agreed. As the children were playing, the sky became dark. Thunder roared in the sky. The ground split into two. Thunder struck on the ground. Persephone and Hades' parents came enraged faces. The village children were scared of what was going on and ran to their homes. While Persephone and Hades faced their parents, the two noticed each other and were in fury. Persephone was taken in her mother's arms, as the same for Hades, and as the two parted ways, both children were not to leave nor play together. Hades and Persephone's parents forbid them from playing together, and the two were heartbroken of what their parents said. Hades asked for why he can't see Persephone. Hades' father told him that the goddess of spring and the god of the underworld cannot be together nor see each other ever. For the past few years, Hades had never gotten to see his friend Persephone, till one day Hades got a letter from Persephone, checking in on how Hades and how he was doing. Hades wrote back to his friend with more letters coming and going. As Persephone got Hades' letter, and knowing that he was doing okay, Persephone was still thinking about Hades and how long it's been since they last saw each other. Persephone had an idea. She wrote to Hades telling him to meet him at the hillside at dusk tomorrow. While reading the letter, Persephone wrote and got ready for dusk. He had just snuck out of the underworld. As dusk came, Persephone sat on a rock, waiting for Hades to show up. For a while, Hades rised out of the earth and made his way to Persephone. Once he made it to the spot, the two locked eyes, lost in each other's gaze. Persephone got up and hugged Hades. To his surprise, he hugged her back. That night, the two were chatting and catching up with their lives. The two agreed that they can see each other one day out of the week at dusk. During that time, the two would meet up and their feelings grew stronger for each other. As the two know it, they were in love. Long, with their smiles, laughter, being there in each other's presence was all they needed. Till one day, Persephone's family had arranged a marriage with her, with the most brave and feared gladiator. Persephone refused her parents' arranged marriage idea, causing them to fight. Persephone wrote to Hades of what her family was doing, hoping for a way out of this. As the day came for their meetup, Hades rushed over, hugging his sweet Persephone in his arms. Persephone broke down and told Hades what her family was doing. Hades opposed the idea because it was her choice to marry who she wanted and to love. Persephone was moved by Hades' words, giving Hades a kiss on the cheek, making his face bright red. The next day, Persephone was introduced to the gladiator as his bride, leaving the two in the garden to get to know each other. The groom tried to charm his soon-to-be bride, but she didn't seem interested in him at all. Right after a few days of getting to know more Persephone and trying to get her attention, she kept pushing him away, leaving him in a rage. But one night, as Persephone was meeting up with Hades, the two shared a kiss, with what seen by the groom. But as the groom returned home, he kept thinking about the ways to win over her heart. But he had an idea, an awful idea of how to make his bride his own. Later, the next day, the groom went to Persephone's father and lied, saying that she agreed to his hand in marriage. Both of Persephone's parents were happy to hear the news, and the order was spread out to the entire land of the wedding day being held in 2 whole days. But to Persephone's shock of hearing the news, she didn't agree to his hand in marriage in the first place. Leaving Persephone enraged, she ran over to the gladiator. In a room where no one can hear them, she yelled, saying that she did not agree to his hand in marriage. The gladiator smirked and told Persephone that she'll tell her parents about Hades coming to see her at night. Persephone was shocked to hear that coming out of his mouth. She begged him not to tell her parents about Hades. The groom, with a smile, said to marry him and her secret will stay safe. But if she didn't, then he'll tell everyone about Hades. Persephone, thinking about Hades' safety, agreed to his proposal. Later on that day, Persephone wrote to Hades, telling him to come tonight because it was urgent. At a different spot, far away from her groom's eyes to see the two of them. For some time, Hades showed up, asking Persephone what was going on and why the sudden rush. Persephone sat down and told Hades what the gladiator did and how her parents will find out about us. Hearing what will happen, Hades came up with an idea. He got to Persephone's eye level, holding out her hands to Persephone. Why don't we get married instead, Persephone? Hearing Hades' words, Persephone agreed to his proposal and asked if they can really get married, for real this time, but in your world. Hades said yes to her request, and then how he'll come and get her on the wedding day in 2 days. Persephone was happy to hear those words. The next day, everyone was decorating and getting everything ready for the wedding. Persephone was trying on wedding dresses to find something to wear. For some time, she found the dress that she wanted. But at the eve of the wedding, there was a party going on. The gladiator was fooling around with other women, and her parents didn't even notice her, making her sick to the bone at the party. Later on that evening, as Persephone was heading back to her room, there was a strange sound coming from the gladiator's room. Getting a closer look, she found the gladiator was cheating on her with one of the bridesmaids that was handpicked by her. It was a maid that was working for her family for the past 15 years, and she was a year younger than Persephone. Seeing how he wasn't as good as her father said, what she saw, knowing that he was no good, in Persephone's room, she was getting her dress and veil ready. Before she could get some sleep, a letter came from Hades, telling her that the wedding was set and ready in his world and how he was coming during the reception. On the day of the wedding, everyone was rushing to get everything ready. The maids were getting Persephone ready to walk down the aisle, as the bridesmaids too were all ready. Persephone's family was talking about how happy they were so that they won't need to worry about their daughter. Persephone asked why they picked someone like the gladiator. Knowing his true colors, Persephone's fathers claimed that he proved himself by slaying beasts and having his feelings for Persephone were true, telling how he fell in love with her at the first sight when they were kids. Persephone looked at her family and her father with a dark face and asked for all the bridesmaids to get ready to leave. As everyone left the room, Persephone got up and told her parents what made their faces turn all dark and to shock. As Persephone walked outside, everyone was in their seats and the music started to play. As the ceremony started, the bridesmaids went first, then Persephone. At the altar, as the gladiator was saying his vows, right as he said, "I do," right before Persephone finished her vows, the ground was shaking, the sky had gone dark. The earth split into two, a giant crack appeared. Right at that moment, Hades came out of the earth, dressed in his finest suit, holding a bouquet of flowers in one hand. As Hades walked over to the groom, he sent the groom flying away from the crowd. Seeing the groom flying away left everyone in shock for seeing the gladiator flying away. Hades gave the flowers to Persephone and grabbed her, carrying her away in a bridal style. As the crowd of people at the wedding were watching Hades leaving with Persephone in hand, Hades stepped into the crack as the two were gone. The sky was still black, the air became cold, and the snow fell down. Right then the gladiator came back. asking for his bride's whereabouts. The bride's father called the guards, ordering him and the bridesmaid to be locked up. As for the two, Persephone and Hades had their own little wedding and are doing great. For the past 3 months, Persephone asked Hades if they could go see her parents after for so long. Hades agreed to his wife's request, and as the two descended into the human world, the sky was clear and warm. And that is how winter came to be. And I hope you guys enjoyed the story. Goodbye.